Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into a totally wild, brilliantly creative modern reimagining of the Book of Job, set in a cyberpunk 2026 Bear Shiva. We are looking at a piece of writing that takes one of the oldest, most intense philosophical texts in human history and literally drags it kicking and screaming into the digital age. So forget the ancient tents and the flocks of sheep. We're talking about a world entirely governed by servers, source code, and tech bro logic. So picture this. What happens if the Book of Job takes place in a 2026 tech dystopia? Instead of some divine punishment raining down from above, imagine Job's tragedy as a catastrophic server crash. We're talking a total wipe. Every piece of data, everything he's ever built, just gone in an instant. And he's left totally unplugged, just sitting there in the blazing, unforgiving desert heat. The author here takes that deeply universal theme of human suffering and translates it into a language we all kind of dread today, a massive, irreversible system failure. Section 1, the ultimate system crash. Right? So it's the sweltering heat of August 2026, and Job's reality has suffered a fatal system failure. And this isn't just a bad day at the office. His entire life's operating system has completely collapsed. His family, his assets, his whole existence deleted from the servers without so much as a warning pop-up. And it's fascinating how the author maps ancient theology directly onto modern tech speak here. God isn't a voice in the sky anymore. He is the server admin, the ultimate root user. Sin? It's not a moral failing, it's just a coding error, a glitch in the script. And divine retribution? Well, that's just cold algorithmic optimization. The system isn't punishing you out of anger, it's literally just deleting faulty data to run more efficiently. It is chillingly clinical. Section 2, tech support from Hal. Okay, enter Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Now, in the original biblical text, these guys are elders offering some pretty terrible theological advice. But here, they're acting less like comforting buddies and way more like corporate tech bros doing damage control for a massive software rollout. They show up at Job's burnt-out living room, but definitely not to hold his hand. They're there to audit his logs. Bildad immediately blames the user. Listen to this logic. If you fell, it's because you weren't connected to the right protocol. This isn't abuse, it's just the optimization of reality. He is straight up telling Job that the system doesn't make mistakes. If your life crashed, you must have executed a bad command. It's the ultimate Silicon Valley gaslighting. Your absolute ruin is just an inevitable algorithmic correction. And Zophar completely backs up this clinical logic. He looks at Job and essentially tells him he doesn't even have the security clearance to ask why. He argues that Job is simply too insignificant to demand access to the admin's back-end logs. Zophar literally tells him he doesn't understand how the cache of reality works. To these friends, Job is nothing more than a localized error in a flawlessly running global network. The whole takeaway here is this brutal user-blaming philosophy. These friends represent a worldview where human emotion is completely irrelevant in the face of cold, hard data and corporate efficiency. They insist the system is perfect. Human pain doesn't even register on their dashboard as a tragedy. It's just a statistical anomaly. Their solution? Job needs to stop complaining, align himself with the existing code, and just submit to the algorithm. But Job, he's not having it. He refuses to be a compliant user and fiercely rejects their diagnostics. Look at this incredibly powerful line. The arrows of this system are stuck in my veins. You try to explain why the house burned down when all I want is water. Job is practically screaming for human empathy. He needs physical relief. He doesn't want some pristine Excel spreadsheet explaining his statistical errors while he's literally sitting in the ashes of his life. Section 3, the root admin speaks. Driven to his absolute limit by these awful tech support friends, Job pushes back. He runs this massive emotional stress test that overloads the local server. The system reaches a boiling point, and the ultimate authority finally logs on. The iconic voice from the whirlwind from the original text is reimagined here as the terrifying root server, speaking directly from the walls, vibrating through the floorboards. The root admin asks Job, "Where were you when I ran the first code of reality? What do you even know about how this engine was built?" It's a brutal reality check of Job's microscopic place in the network. The admin is basically saying, "You don't even know the coding language I used to build the universe, so stop questioning the architecture." And right after that, the whole system just crashes completely. The screens turn blindingly white and then go totally dead. The data is purged into the global cloud, and Job, along with his useless friends, is left in absolute, terrifying silence as the old operating system is wiped clean. There are no more logs, no more history. There is nothing left but the raw, open-source code of existence right there in the middle of the desert. Section 4. Initiating Protocol 0. Out of this complete digital void, a young man named Elihu, who, by the way, has just been sitting quietly in the corner this entire time, steps forward. He's joined by a mysterious guide known simply as the New Man, and they step out of the burnt house and into the open desert to reboot reality. This is what they call Protocol 0. It's a radical process of disconnecting from the server entirely. Step 1, delete the I. That means your ego, your past data, all your trauma logs. Step 2, stop asking the system for permission to exist. And step 3, realize that you are the source code. You don't actually need an external server to validate you. The New Man drops this incredible truth bomb on Elihu. The moment you stop looking for external approval is the moment the real route opens. True freedom, especially in this 2026 landscape, only arrives when you stop running someone else's script. It happens when you stop fearing the glitches and finally embrace raw, unfiltered reality without all that heavy digital armor. Section 5. Returning to the real. Now, here's where things get pretty funny, because philosophical system reboots and quantum consciousness, they have a funny way of crashing right back into mundane physical reality. Even if you're this enlightened being completely unplugged from the Matrix, well, you still live in Beersheba. In a brilliant moment of humor, Elihu realizes they still have an electric bill running back at the apartment. They walk into a local convenience store, AC blasting, and try to buy a bottle of Coke. The grumpy cashier asks for 8 shekels. Elihu, still floating on his digital high, tries to offer spiritual optimization of the store's inventory as payment. The cashier just deadpans that he can either hand over 8 shekels or take a spiritual optimization out to the street. It turns out, you just can't pay for an 8-shekel Coke with pure truth. Defeated by basic capitalism, but totally liberated in spirit, they sit down on a bench outside. The New Man pulls out a box of frozen fruit. You know, those amazing chocolate-covered raspberries. The sensory contrast the author paints here is absolutely stunning. They are trading digital logs, 404 errors, and cosmic anxiety for the simple hyperphysical joy of cold chocolate melting in their mouths under the blazing desert sun. This right here, this is the real world. Which brings us to Job's clean reboot. His ultimate resolution isn't theological at all. It's profoundly physical. The old files are permanently gone. He doesn't restore from some backup drive. Instead, a new family, a new home, and a totally new life are built from scratch right there in the ashes. Job finds deep peace not by finally understanding the algorithm, but by living completely offline. The matrix is gone, but the warm, beautifully messy reality remains. But wait, the author leaves us with this hilarious final twist. Job receives a glitchy, overly bureaucratic compensation letter delivered by a sweaty courier from a department called Cosmos Accounting. For his terrible user experience, the universe offers him these utterly absurd perks: a first-hand car from an alien, an exemption from annoying municipal balcony permits, and lifetime free ice cream at the local shopping center. Job looks at this cosmic apology, actually laughs out loud, and tosses it straight into the trash. He just turns up the AC and goes back to drinking his iced coffee. Job finally gets it. He realizes that the physical world is literally the only thing that matters. A neighbor walking by with a thirsty Labrador that needs some water. A perfectly cold iced coffee. Just the simple things. He completely embraces this warm physical reality, entirely abandoning that cold corporate tech logic his former friends were pushing. He simply doesn't need the server anymore. Which leaves us with this final thought for today's explainer. Are we all just a bit too busy trying to appease the algorithm of our lives to actually enjoy the beautiful, physical world sitting right in front of us? Think about it. If your life's server crashed today, would you desperately try to recover the corrupted data? Or would you unplug, sit on a bench, and just eat the free ice cream? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through a truly unique reimagining of an ancient text. I hope it gave you something incredible to think about.